This week, gas crossed $4 again nationally, and oil broke $90. 6 sailors reportedly tried to jump off a ship Trump apparently forgot he even sent to war. And this week in Wyoming, of all places, the man Donald Trump handpicked to keep the whole thing going, lost. What's up, y'all? I'm D'Anthony Collins, and this is The Quiet Loud, where we don't just talk about what's happening, we connect the dots behind why it's happening. So let's get a real quick acknowledgement because this is episode 50. I cannot believe it. 50 episodes. All right. Only a couple of guests, maybe one or two along the way, but really it's just been me and this microphone and a list of receipts longer than CVS. And I just want to say thank you, because if you're still here, then you're a part of my quiet quorum. And this is your show just as much as it is mine. But if you've been here, please consider hitting that subscribe button if you haven't. It means more than you know. All right. Now, I'm going to zoom in on 6 seemingly separate stories, and I'm going to show you that they're seemingly connected. So let's start with Tuesday night's primary elections, where voters went to the polls in Florida, Alaska, and Wyoming. And here's the part that a lot of people don't know. The single biggest result wasn't who won, but it was who lost. Okay. In Wyoming, Donald Trump personally backed the candidate for governor and Megan Degenfelder. All right. He put his stamp on it. And the voters of Wyoming, one of the reddest states in America, looked at that endorsement and was like, nah. Instead, they voted for Eric Barlow, all right, a rancher and a state senator there. Trump's pick finished far second. I mean, double digits down, but that's not to say Eric Barlow is the princely candidate. Okay. He's still a deep red Republican. All right. But Trump's handpicked candidate for governor lost in a Republican primary in Wyoming. All right. But it shouldn't be too shocking. I mean, that is the same state that elected Liz Cheney, who notoriously railed against Donald Trump during his first term. Now, she did pay a price for it. She lost her bid when she ran for re-election, but it looks like they're starting to have some regrets. All right. Trump can tell voters to vote for whomever he wants, but endorsements aren't votes. And I think he's starting to understand that ultimately people still have to pull that lever. So to be clear, I'm not going to pretend that every result against Trump is some kind of rebuke. I mean, this clearly seems to be, because that's not always true. And I'm not going to do any spin from either direction. In fact, in Florida, Trump's pick won. Byron Donalds, the congressman who he's been trying to elevate for years. This dude has been a shadow to Trump, dressing like him, speaking like him, generally just trying to get on his good side, it seems. And he took the Republican nomination for governor. Now, to me, that still doesn't mean much. He could still go the way of Amir Hassan. That was another black Trump-endorsed candidate who lost due to his name. Okay? That just lets you know that even if Trump endorsed you, the racism on that side is sometimes too much to overcome. This guy, Amir Hassan, had to get on and show people, hey, I'm an American citizen. I was born here. I'm not Muslim. I'm Christian. I'm this, that, and the other. But the damage was already done. All right. He lost because of their racism. And I, for one, think that Byron Donalds may go the same way. Those same people who put Ron DeSantis in may not be ready for a black executive in the state of Florida. All right. But on the Democratic side, David Jolly advanced, and in the Senate race, Angie Nixon, a self-described Democratic socialist, beat Alex Vindman. That's the ex-White House official who became famous for that impeachment testimony he gave. But he's done. Nixon beat Vindman roughly 56-44, despite being massively outraised and outspent by Vindman. She now gets to run against Ashley Moody, the Senator Ron DeSantis appointed when he went over and shuffled the deck. Now, over in Alaska, the top 4 primaries set the Senate matchup. All right. The Republican Dan Sullivan advances, and so does Democrat Mary Peltola. That's a ranked choice race in November, which means that for the second time in 4 years, Alaska is going to be in a genuine fight for the Senate seat that could decide who controls the whole chamber. So that's going to be definitely one to watch. All right. But here's the thing I definitely want you guys to key in on and hold on to. And there's a reason I put this story first. It's because the people who showed up on Tuesday did more to shape the cost of living than any single headline that I'm giving you this week. And that's because whoever fills these seats for the next 2 years will be the difference between a check on this administration and just another rubber stamp. And over in Wyoming, the rubber stamp for governor got voted down. All right. So what does Wyoming have to do with their grocery bill? All right, well, let's talk about this headline a little bit, because Brent crude crossed $90 a barrel this week, and that's the first time since July. All right. And it wasn't due to some kind of refinery fire or shipping chain hiccup. It was due to Donald Trump's own words when he went and threatened to bomb Oman for the second time. I didn't say Iran. I said Oman. They're a country that the U.S. has had a long defense relationship with. They've been a long time ally. And Trump said that he would bomb them if they, quote, got in the way. I mean, got in the way of what, you say? Iran and Oman are close to finalizing a deal to jointly manage shipping through the Strait of Hormuz. And Iran says that it's in the final stages, all right? And that right there is the real fight, because the Strait of Hormuz is a choke point for about a fifth of the world's oil. And whoever controls that water to a degree controls the price at every pump in this country. The administration wants it reopened on our terms, on American terms, and Iran wants to co-manage it with Oman and charge fees for every ship that passes through it. Now, the MOU, the ceasefire, the memorandum of understanding that we had with Iran has expired, and Iran has ruled out any extensions, and Trump said he wasn't interested in any anyway. Until he is. I mean, we don't know what this guy's talking about and what he's on. So the war that was supposed to be over seeming access to nuclear material is now a negotiation over who taxes the world's oil, who is controlling the Strait of Hormuz, and the president is answering it with threats to bomb one of our allies. All right. So when our alliances become obstacles instead of assets, the price of everything we buy grows up. All right. This isn't foreign policy anymore. It's your gas tank. It's the truck that delivers your groceries. Markets price based on expectations, and a president's words have an economic cost. The war doesn't just stay over there. It's at gas pumps and it's at checkout lines in every state across this country. But there are also invisible costs, and they go by many names, and this one is the USS Abraham. That aircraft carrier has been at sea for nearly 10 months straight, and his crew has gone on a record 250 days plus without a single port call. I could not believe it. I'd be going out of my mind. That's 9+ months of 1,000+ people living in a floating metal box. No shore leave, no permanent home. And the conditions, by every report I've seen, have completely collapsed. We've got food and hygiene shortages. They're talking about raw sewage leaking onside that ship. Okay, mental health deteriorating at every level. And this week, lawmakers confirmed that very worst version of it. And they reported that sailors are trying to jump overboard. Reportedly, 6 human beings. Now, these aren't just soldiers. These aren't just components of a machine. 6 human beings reached a point where a deep sea swim looked better than the ship. All right. And what was the president's response? Of course, he denied the crisis. He dismissed the reports that were coming from sailors and their families, okay? He called the whole thing overblown. He said they hadn't nearly been out there long enough. Don't take my word for it. You can look all of this stuff up. I mean, senators, including in his own party, are now calling for an inquiry. And now a replacement carrier is already steaming toward that region. But honestly, replacing the Lincoln with the George Washington doesn't eliminate that cost. It just transfers that burden over to another crew. All right. So we stop talking about the Lincoln, and then the George Washington will start to take on that burden, and they'll be suffering too. Okay. We talked in an earlier episode about who absorbs the risk that Trump and co generates, but refuses to be accountable for. Well, this is that sentence made flesh. All right. This is that. The decision to keep that war going and to threaten Oman and to let the strait stay a bargaining chip was made in a room with air conditioning and working refrigerators and luxury. The people paying for it are sleeping on a warship that's been at sea so long that they're ready to jump off of it. We have to start thinking about this. The bill never seems to be paid by the people who ordered it. And now we have numbers that prove that the costs at home and abroad are already reaching American shoppers. And that number is this. It's the economic consumer confidence, and it fell 8% in August. After 2 straight months of improvement, it's gone. And this number measures how Americans feel about the economy, not the economy itself, but whether you think you can afford your life. And it dropped hard. This point would make a normal White House sit up straight. The drop was the sharpest among Republicans, Trump's own voters, the people who were supposed to be the most optimistic about this administration. Then they're the ones who are losing faith the fastest. And why is that? Probably because of the thing that I've been saying here for 50 episodes. This cooling is not cheaper. Inflation cooling just means prices are rising much slower than they were. It doesn't mean that your grocery bill came down. And now energy costs, the war that we were just talking about, are rising again. All right. The same Reuters survey found Americans now expect inflation over 4.3% over the next year, and up from the month before. So even the expectation of relief is starting to recede. Put that plainly, it just means that the administration's economic story of "we're fixing it and just wait" or "trust in Trump" has stopped working on the one audience that it couldn't afford to lose. Now, this story has been building up for months. All right, the government missed its court-ordered deadline to release the Epstein file months ago. And this week, a federal judge finally ran out of patience, saying, quote, "The public has a right to know what the hell is going on in this case." Now, that's his quote. That's not me embellishing. All right, that's coming from a sitting federal judge saying in open court after the Justice Department's lawyers couldn't explain why pages and pages are still blacked out. The judge said he had absolutely no desire to hold any government attorneys in contempt, but then he went ahead and proceeded to school them on all the times he's done just that. Now, to be clear, this isn't about one document or just one name. It's about the methods. This same administration that denies the sailors' conditions on the Abraham Lincoln is the same one dragging its feet on these files. The same instinct that dismisses the economic confidence collapse as fake news is the same one sitting on redactions that it can't justify. The pattern is clear. Deny, delay, and hope you stop asking while they continue to flood the zone. Now, separately, a group of victims' files were cleared for release this week over Ghislaine Maxwell's own objections, as if she should even get a say. So the fight over whether these files exist aren't even a thing. The fight is who gets to see them and when. Okay? And a judge just told the DOJ to his face that when was months ago and that they're breaking the law. All right? So finally, while Washington was threatening to bomb Oman and arguing about Epstein redactions, the earth moved. Literally, in two different hemispheres. Over in Hawaii, Hurricane Lala tore through the Big Island, leaving one person dead and more than 125,000 residents without power. Over 100 homes have been damaged, flash flooding and mudslides, you name it. And here's the detail that tells you just how bad it is. Some of those outages, they're saying, could last for months. Think Puerto Rico during Trump's first term. Now, same weekend, on the other side of the world, a 7.7 magnitude earthquake off Indonesia's Flores Island, and at least 68 people dead. The toll still climbing towards 70. More than 1,100 people injured, and thousands were still waiting for help on Indonesia's Independence Day, the day they were supposed to be celebrated. They were digging people out of rubble. Now, why am I putting weather and earthquakes in the same episode as elections? Because the question underneath is identical. Which communities will get rebuilt first, and how fast? And will FEMA answer the call? Will DART? I mean, as of this recording, no formal presidential major disaster declaration has been made at all. But storms aren't political. Somehow the response from the Trump administration always is. How fast the power comes back on in Hawaii, that's governance. How fast aid reaches Flores Island, that's governance. Same as the sailors. Same as the price at the pump. All right? That's the failure. This is not a collection of mistakes. It's the Trump strategy. Deny the crisis. Delay the accountability. Dismiss the evidence. And hand the bill to the people least able to pay for it. The sailor, the renter, the grocery shopper, the family in the flood zone. The news told you what happened this week, but now you know the pattern. The war is your grocery bill. The ship is your neighbor's kid. The economic confidence number is your own gut. The redactions are your right to know, and the primary, and then the general election this fall, is our lever. So do this for me, for the sake of democracy also. Look up your ballot. Not in November, but now, because Wyoming just proved that we need to recognize the power of our own vote. All right? If this episode connected a dot for you, hit me up in the comments section. I always respond. And if you want the full pattern every single week, please subscribe and join our quiet quorum. But until then, stay grounded, stay informed, and stay loud quietly. This is The Quiet Loud. Y'all take care.